What's up everyone and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Unfortunately, Molly is still feeling a little under the weather. She's got that con crud after Star Wars Celebration. She really wanted to be here because today we're going to be taking questions all about Star Wars Celebration. We're thinking of doing like a live stream wrap up at some point because Molly wants to give her answers, and I'm going to try to answer for her at some of these questions, but she does wish she could be here. And before we dive into questions, just like last year, I want to send a thank you out to a few people. First of all, thank you to everyone who came to our panel and then our meetup afterwards. We spent 2.5 hours, I think, saying hello to people. That was a massive turnout. So thank you everyone who took some time out of your day to say hello to us, and especially thank you to the people who had to wait literal hours. I don't know how to organize something like that. We need to get better at it and figure that all out, but it really meant a lot to us. I also need to say thank you to one of our patrons, Dustin. He is a crazy person who got us the Jedi Master level passes because he wanted to make sure that we were able to get into all of the panels and stuff. And we bought 4-day passes for ourselves and only got the Bad Batch on the lottery system. So that was a huge help to us and took a lot off of our minds. So Dustin, you're crazy. Thank you for helping us out in that way. And finally, thank you to Jacob from Discussing Film on Twitter. He introduced us to some people that helped get us onto the press list and gave us even more opportunities. I got the chance to interview the High Republic authors, for example, and I'll be putting that video out soon. But Jacob, thank you for reaching out for that as well. But now getting into questions, I took a bunch from our Patreon, starting with Andy Duggan, thank you, who asks how we feel about the future of Star Wars after this celebration. I feel really psyched. I think Molly feels the same way. You know, it's been kind of tumultuous. We haven't known what was in the future for movies for a long time now. It was just a bunch of rumors or projects that did get officially announced and then just kind of fizzled out or disappeared. And there have been talks about what Damon Lindelof was writing, and I don't think they're attached to the New Jedi Order project anymore, but there were a lot of whispers going around, and the New Jedi Order aspect, like I was expecting that announcement, or I was hoping for one. I was not expecting that we would also hear about the Dawn of the Jedi and kind of a wrap-up movie for The Mandalorian and everything going on there. So for films, I am over the moon, and I said this a lot at Celebration, but I'm really excited about the fact that they're doing a little something for everyone, because clearly, like, a ton of people were thrilled about the New Jedi Order announcement. I have been someone that wanted Star Wars to go into the past with their films, and I'm excited for the New Jedi Order as well. I'm excited for the Filoni movie, but the past is just like what I personally wanted. And so the fact that not only did I get what I want, but it's just kind of like everyone got something coming down on the pipeline for movies. And, you know, that's not to say that these will all definitely 100% happen, but they seemed really confident up there. I think Lucasfilm has to know the track record for the past few years of just announcing things and then they disappear. And it's like, okay, I wanted something concrete out of these announcements, and we got it. It wasn't just some rumor that someone's writing a movie or directing a movie. It was like, here is our plan with the films, and they're going to be really big. And they seem to know just definite details about how they want them to feel. Like Kathleen Kennedy talked about the crawls coming back to help differentiate these films, and I'm kind of expecting that they could all look different. I don't know. They might be the yellow text, or the Dawn of the Jedi one might feel a little more ancient somehow. I don't know what they're going to do, but just a return to form for like big storytelling in Star Wars on the big screen. Whereas I've said this before, I really would have been psyched for a Rogue Squadron movie, but even I, when they announced it, thought like, that's interesting that's the next Star Wars movie after the Skywalker saga. I'm sure stuff like that is still going to happen, but I kind of think that the big moments in Star Wars history is what the movie should be about. Dawn of the Jedi, like the culmination of the fight between the New Republic and the Imperial Remnant, the new Jedi Order. All of those sound big. They all excite me. So I'm really happy about that. And then all of the stuff that we got to see for the series just looked great. The Acolyte especially, I was really over the moon about that. But I guess just in general, what I'm trying to say is, coming out of this celebration, I was just over the moon with a lot of the announcements and what we saw. And I think that the future of Star Wars is continuing to look bright. You know, I'm always optimistic. That's kind of what we're known for on YouTube, where I've always been happy about the future, but I'm also someone who is like really, really into Star Wars books, and not everyone is. So having this plan for all of the films, I think, is the big thing, the big exciting thing. Ormappa wants to know which announcement excited us the most. Well, I think the film announcements were the big thing. And yeah, the Dawn of the Jedi was what got me the most hyped. The new Jedi Order is what got Molly the most hyped, and the return of Rey Skywalker. But since I talked so much about the films already, and since those are years and years off, what I am most hyped for is the Acolyte. Getting to see footage for that. I mean, like, that was a series when they announced it, I was like, this is very intriguing. Now that we've seen what it looks like and how firmly rooted it is in the High Republic, which is an era that I have so loved reading about, yeah, that footage floored me. So I think that walking out of that Lucasfilm Studio showcase, that was at the top of my mind, was the Acolyte. So that's what I'm most excited for. Framed Citizen asks what surprised us the most. I'm going to talk about the movies again, and I kind of already touched on this, but the fact that we got not one but 3 movie announcements or movie discussions, that's just something I wasn't expecting at all. I thought that maybe we could get, like, here's what the next movie is about, and hopefully, like, here are some details on it, and it'll be big. I just did not think we'd get 3 announcements. Mangold surprised me. Filoni surprised me. But there were also other smaller things, like seeing Mon Mothma in Ahsoka. I just wasn't really expecting to see Genevieve O'Reilly, who I've like associated so strongly with Andor and Rogue One in that time period, and now she's going to continue playing Mon Mothma in the future. I love that. Maybe the biggest surprise, and it's tied to the Acolyte again, I wasn't expecting Vernestra Rwoh, a High Republic book character, to show up in the TV series. I love that. Just Leslie Headland did a great speech at the High Republic panel about how the books meant so much to her growing up. They helped shape her fandom. So when she pitched this idea, and then Lucasfilm came back and they were like, it sounds cool. It makes sense for it to take place in this era where we're writing Star Wars books. And she was like, so excited about that, and made a big deal about how all of the writers up on stage, like, they shaped this era and she wants to honor it. And yeah, the fact that Vernestra Rwoh, one of their characters, is going to be in the series, I think is so cool. Clayton Butler and Kitty both want us to show off our new favorite merch, and I have a decent amount, so bear with me. Josh Chapman from Star Wars Spelt Out always does a beanie every year, so I got the 2023 version. A fan gave us this adorable B-1 battle droid that's like holding a British flag, and it's got a top hat and a cup of tea, and this isn't technically merch, but I still love it. I got the Rancor head bottle opener that mounts to your wall. I need to put it up somewhere, obviously, but this is just such a cool idea. My mission was to get the Timelines book early, and I did get it. It was actually sold out at Forbidden Planet by the time I got there. But Clayton Sandell, one of the authors, had a copy, and he said he was going to get more shipped to him anyway, so he signed this one and gave it to me. It's really cool so far. I'm trying to desperately use it to help touch up this year's Canon Timeline video, which I'm not done with, and this has already shown me some things that need to be fixed, so I'm kind of rushing to fix that, but I love this book. This is such a cool reference book. I also got Kristen Baver's 100 Objects, which I haven't really had the time to dive into yet. She talked about it at the publishing panel, and it sounded really cool. Like, it was her curating exhibits in a museum. It sounds really interesting. I technically didn't get either of these at Star Wars Celebration. They were waiting for me when I got home, but I am excited to read them both. I'm in the middle of Quest for Planet X now, and Path of Vengeance I'm going to start later, but look at this thing. It's so dense. It's like 500 pages, which excited me. And then I realized it's going to be like 500 pages of pain because Cavan Scott wrote it. Speaking of the High Republic, Quentin Vanden W. gave me this 3D printed replica of Skier's lightsaber from the High Republic. He's a Trandoshan Jedi, that's why it's huge. But it came with a stand and everything, and Quentin was handing these out to the High Republic authors. They all got like different models. He 3D printed a ton of different lightsabers, and I got Skier. And this thing is just awesome. I need to build the stand and put it on display somewhere, but thank you, Quentin. And finally, I wanted to show off something that Molly bought for herself. It's technically physically small, but emotionally it's very big and important to me. But she has decided her Glupshido, and that is Ristal Sant, one of the dancers in Jabba's palace. And so she started her Ristal Sant collection, got this action figure, got a signed photo of her and all of the other dancers, which really, that's the only problem with it, is that if she's collecting Ristal Sant stuff, she's also kind of collecting Lin Mi stuff. And for those that don't know, Lin Mi was a character, I couldn't remember her name, and so she knocked me out of the 2018 Star Wars Dragon Con trivia contest. And so I have this vendetta against Lin Mi, but apparently we're going to have a bunch of Lin Mi stuff in the house so that Molly can have Ristal Sant stuff. But, you know, I'm just excited that she has chosen a Glupshido that isn't, like, she's been saying Dark Ray, which I definitely think counts because it's like a specific variant of a character. But this is like a background character for sure, and she's really excited about it, so am I. Alec Figueroa asks what was the most underrated part of Celebration, and Harry Omph wants to know what made us the most emotional. I put those two together because for me, it's the same answer, and that was the Star Wars Visions Season 2 panel. That panel made me emotional from the start. Like, when they played the trailer, I don't know what it was, but I just started to well up, seeing all of these different takes on Star Wars from different cultures. All the animation looked beautiful. It just hit me hard. And then having all of the directors and producers come out, the people who created each short, and they each got to talk about their culture and their inspirations and their mythology and what they were able to inject into Visions. It just got me so hyped to see every single short. And it's something I wish they had done or had the chance to do for Volume 1, because there were some shorts that I watched them and I was just like, okay, but like, I feel like I didn't get it. And then reading about them after the fact from the creators and saying like, this is why we made this choice and here's the mythological reasoning behind this. And I was like, oh, I understand. And just getting to experience this new stuff, this new take on Star Wars from different mythologies, I think is so cool. Like, the Raiders of Gorlak, I think, was the title of the Indian short, and they showed off an Indian Inquisitor that looked awesome and is based off of Indian folklore and mythology, this villain that they have. And I was like, this is so cool. And seeing all the different cultures being injected into Star Wars like that, I think it's really neat. And I feel like I was welling up during that panel multiple times, just watching the creators and seeing their passion. The Korean director, like, just kept, first of all, he was speaking through a translator, and as she was translating for him, like, he would just start to cover his eyes and like laugh or cry, or I don't know what exactly, but he was clearly very excited and happy to share his project. So I think Star Wars Visions Volume 2 was something that didn't get as much discussion, so that's why I'm calling it the underrated panel. But the room was full. Like, everyone was there, like, to show up for Star Wars Visions Volume 2 and show support on the main celebration stage, which in 2022, I think they were at the Galaxy stage or the Twin Suns stage, like one of the other ones. So just to see that support from so many Star Wars fans on the main stage was great. Stan and Chazertron 5000 want to know our favorite cosplays of the year. I got some good pictures of some cosplays that excited me. Some standouts were from the High Republic this year for me. I saw multiple Marta Rose, and one of them gave me a gift freely given, which was a flower, which then sat on my nightstand like I didn't want to toss it. so I kept that Marta row. And there was one Marta that was paired up with a Kevmo. These are both from Path of Deceit, the book that came out last year. I saw Keller and Beck, which was a cosplay done by Star Wars Lawyer, and I was just so impressed with how quickly he got that done. The Jedi robes have like all of the markings, and he was carrying Grogu around, so I was really psyched about that. There was a Thrawn matched up with an Admiral Aralani, which you see a lot of Thrawn at Star Wars conventions or at like Dragon Con, but not a ton of Admiral Aralani, so I was excited about that one. And finally, I was just excited to meet Kerberos Cosplay. They do a ton of High Republic cosplay, and that's something that I aspire to do one day when I have the time to learn how to sew. I would love to have some High Republic robes, but I've just enjoyed following their creation process. They have a ton of different characters they cosplay, so I was just excited to meet them. Sarah Black asks if they did a running of the hoods this year. I believe they did. I didn't witness it. I saw a bunch of Wilro hoods hanging around, and anytime you see, we got to think of a name for a group of Wilro hoods like that. But anyway, I guess a Camtano of hoods. I didn't see that, but I did see a bunch of Narkina 5 prisoners running around yelling "One Way Out," which is what I was hoping to see. So I love that now there are two things that we can look forward to every con, is the running of the hoods and the running of the Narkina 5s. Maybe at some point there will be like a Sharks versus Jets thing where they run from opposite directions and like start snapping at each other. They're basically turning into rival gangs. Brino Lira wants to know if there's anything we didn't get to go to but wished we could have. Molly and I have similar answers because basically there were two panels at the same time and we had to divide and conquer. I really wanted to see Star Wars as a Drag, hosted by our friend Chase, aka That Gay Jedi, and it was at the same time as the High Republic panel, and I didn't get to see the High Republic panel last year, so I was like, I want to go to that and cover any news there. Molly wanted to go to the High Republic panel, but also wanted to see Star Wars as a Drag, and helped Chase film the panel, which is on YouTube now. I'll put a link to it. But yeah, we had to divide up and go to separate panels, and then text each other about them. She was really surprised at the Vernestra Row announcement too. But I think that's really it. I mean, I would have loved to see the making of Andor. I didn't make it to that because we were busy talking about the Lucasfilm Studio showcase and making content, but it was fun making that content and shooting the videos and stuff. So really, I would have gone to everything. It's just that Celebration is a very hectic time. Like, I don't think I went to any panels on Sunday until the evening in the publishing panel. And the rest of the day I was like, I'm just going to relax a little bit. Jack Mountford and Brandon Madigan ask what we thought of London and our favorite non-celebration things we did. We loved London. We got in the Saturday before the convention, stayed in Soho for a while, and really enjoyed hanging out in that area. My favorite thing that we did not at Celebration was go to Richmond. I'm a big Ted Lasso fan, so is Molly. And so we took the train out to Richmond and saw the pub, which was really cool. Just saw that whole area, which I'm like, this is on my TV. I always love going to filming locations. I wish we had time to get to like the ISB or Cyril Karn's apartment from Andor. I did not take the time to do that, but Richmond was really, really cool to see. I also liked going to the Shard. We went up to like the observation area, which was, I think, 60 or 70 floors up, and we watched the sunset. So that was fun. And it was really fun taking our action figures around. If you followed my Twitter, I had a Biggs action figure that I just took pictures of him around London, and that was a blast. Jonathan Book and Robert Bush want to know how Celebration 2023 compared to previous years. I think that this year, news-wise, it was bigger and better. Like, I liked everything that was talked about at the studio showcase last year, but I was hoping for some movie news. I was hoping for a little bit more on the streaming side as well. I was really excited to see Andor and Willow, and we had some talk of Indiana Jones as well, but this year, I really feel like they had a lot more to show us. And so I loved that. But Curtis Callaward asks what constructive feedback we would give for next year, and this ties into comparing 2023 to previous years. But yeah, I saw a lot of people talking about just how disorganized things were. I would say specifically in crowd management. I mean, getting out of any of the stages felt a little scary. Like it would not have been easy to get all of those people out if something were to happen. And then the convention hall itself, I heard, I was not there for this, but people said at one point it was just shoulder to shoulder and they could not move. And that was just kind of walking around the convention floor. So just crowd management was rough. And I think I want to say it's the size of the convention center, but it also looked like there was a lot of space that wasn't used at all. So I think things could have been spread out a little more. Like the Excel Center is very long, and a lot of it was on the east side, which, by the way, only one entrance to the convention center was open. And we were on the east side. Like when hotels went out, we snagged the hotel that was closest to the center, but then it was on the east and we had to go all the way around to the west to get in. So yeah, just organization, layout. It seemed odd to go all the way to the west and then basically walk all the way to the east again to get to any of the panel rooms. So I think just layout. I'm sure there were other issues as well. I think I saw on Twitter people having accessibility issues, and some of my friends were tweeting about how they were just not having a good time. And I need to be upfront and honest about, like I said, one of our patrons very graciously gave us Jedi Master passes, and that changed our experience. We were able to go into the celebration stage for any of those panels that we wanted, and we had different lines for things like the celebration store. So it was a huge help to us. It changed our experience, and I know that everything I'm saying, I'm not encapsulating everything, but I think crowd management was the largest issue that I noticed, where it was like genuinely, I don't know, getting out of the celebration stage and going to the con floor. I heard about that. That just seemed intense. But I also want to talk about streaming, because in previous years, or at least up until 2022, it was a lot easier to experience Celebration no matter where you were. CouchCon was a thing. I'm thinking back to 2016, and the first time at least the first time I watched Star Wars Celebration London in 2016, we did not go. We were at our house, and we streamed the whole thing, and we got to experience all of it. And I've talked before about one of my favorite fan moments was sitting and watching the Thrawn reveal in Star Wars Rebels Season 3. And it's sad to think that I wouldn't have been able to experience that otherwise, because, you know, not everyone can afford to fly to London, and not everyone in Europe can afford to fly to Anaheim or Orlando or Chicago. So it's nice to let Star Wars Celebration be for everyone, give everyone the same experience. And I don't know why that changed, because it doesn't seem like they're hurting to sell tickets. I mean, 4-day passes sold out like the second they went up for 2023. So if they were like in trying to encourage sales for a dying convention, I could kind of understand the exclusivity, but that just doesn't seem to be the case at all. And I think that more panels should be streamed. I kind of understand the impulse to say like, oh, the people who did come here, they deserve to get some exclusive stuff. But even the people that get over there, like, won't get everything. Like I said, we only got into one panel through the lottery system, and then got into everything else because of our patron. So without that help, we would have been over there covering nothing. And I think that they should, at the very least, stream all the exclusive stuff to, like, the Star Wars show stage. I mean, I'm thinking of 2019 in Chicago, and there's footage of this crowd of people, all not in the celebration stage room. They're just standing there watching the panel, and then the trailer plays, and they hear the Emperor's cackle at the end, and everyone around that stage goes nuts. I mean, that's such a great moment, and it's so good to show the fandom celebrating Star Wars. I mean, that's what it is. So that's really the issue that I've had the past 2 years. Is I wish that they could sell a streaming pass or something. Like, I just want people to be able to experience Star Wars Celebration, because it is one of the best times. And I wish that it were more accessible to people in general, whether or not you're there or you're just at home on your couch and you want to take part. And finally, Shaq Fu wants to know if we're excited for Celebration Japan. Yes, we are. I mean, right now we're kind of like, all right, thank goodness it's 2 years into the future. We have some time to recover. But yeah, it's going to be a lot, and I think more stressful than London, but I think we're going to go. That's our plan right now. I don't really want to miss a celebration. We have 2 years to save up for it. So the answer is yes, but we're also still trying to decompress from London, but we've never been to Japan. So I think that'll be cool. But that's all the time I have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.